Doctor? Doctor, come quickly!
Wakanda!
Okay, Callum.
Yes.
How do you... How do you upset Prince Oberyn?
By popping his head open like a grape.
Well, you were close. You tell him a mind-blowing joke.
I was close. I was very close. That's probably the closest I've ever been.
You got the literal sense right, but not the metaphor.
I got the sense of his head popping. You know, I got that.
Yeah.
You know, I got that right.
Of course, it's day 17 of the Genesis of Androzani Advent Calendar for 2022. We are going to do Game of Thrones Season 4, Episode 9, The Watchers on the Wall. Of course, with that joke, the last time we had Episode 8, which was The Mountain and the Viper, where Oberyn's head was crushed like a pimple and exploded. And of course, Tyrion is going to be sentenced to death, among other things, such as Theon capturing Moat Cailin for Ramsay, and then Ramsay being legitimized as a Bolton. We had Jorah Mormont being banished by Daenerys. Yeah, we had quite a few things. So your thoughts going into episode 9, Watchers on the Wall?
Well, as you revealed in the last review we did, that this episode is going to take fully within Castle Black. So it's going to be a very cause since this episode's like 50 minutes, there's going to be quite a long opening, I'd imagine, before we get to about near the halfway point where the battle actually begins. Because there's going to be one. This is episode 9 of a Game of Thrones season. There's going to be a big battle.
If we remember, Blackwater was structured in a way. There was dialogue in the first half, and then the battle was in the second half.
Well, yeah. Blackwater was like 10 minutes of like prep, and then the entire battle took place. Yeah. So yeah, I'm expecting similar stuff here in this episode. I'm expecting it to be mostly good, and it's going to end up with the meeting again of Ygritte and Jon, most likely, since they haven't seen each other for now a whole season now. So
since the last episode of season 3, which was the scene with the arrows.
Yeah, so that's going to be very interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because the Wall/North has kind of been the best part of this season. Consistently, it's had the highs of Craster's. That was really the peak of the Wall/North story. That whole, I think, episode 5, I believe it was. Yep. Yeah, that was probably the highlight, and it's been just very consistently progressing episode by episode with everything with them. So I'm expecting something pretty good. Whether it's going to be better than something like Blackwater, I doubt it, but I imagine it will still be pretty darn good.
I suppose one big difference between this and that is that with Blackwater, Stannis Baratheon was a lot more developed than Mance Rayder in season 2. And I would even say, to an extent, Davos Seaworth is arguably more developed than someone like, say, Tormund is within that season. You obviously have, I think Egret's probably the most major character on the opposition side. Because, you've got Tormund, you've got Styr and all that, but I think at this stage, I think Egret's really, really the only character on the opposition side. And also, one of the biggest differences is that whilst there is a level of complexity, it's nowhere near as balanced as it was in Blackwater, because in Blackwater, you genuinely had two sides where you wanted people on each side to win and lose. If anything, the only person that you could want to lose on the Stannis side of things was the Red Woman, and she wasn't even there at the Blackwater battle.
No, yeah.
It was a matter of, well, Stannis beating Joffrey seemed like the right thing, but also that would mean sacrificing people like Tyrion Lannister, for example. And that was the conundrum at hand with the Blackwater battle, whereas here, there is some of that, but it's definitely a lot more, I think, angled towards Jon's side than it is as like the attacking force is not the does not have the leader that you would prefer, if you get what I mean. Whereas in Blackwater, Stannis was the preferable winner over Joffrey, but everyone surrounding Joffrey was mostly the preferable victor in terms of the wide scope of characters. So yeah, Blackwater was a very interesting conundrum, but this still has certainly the personal stakes of Jon and Ygritte. In terms of world building wise, though, Mance Rayder marching on the wall has very big implications going forward, though, in terms of the grand scale of things. So yeah, it'll be interesting to go into it and see how it turns out, and yeah. Anything else you want to add before we jump into the Watchers on the Wall?
No, I am ready to go.
You might notice the title sequence is quite bare in this one.
Yep.
Not many names.
Yep. Yeah, we're already straight to production credits.
Yep. That's where we're gonna be. You know, they probably couldn't afford it, but for this one episode, I would have liked if they'd just gone to the wall and done like an in-depth Castle Black focused title sequence. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Same director as Blackwater.
I'm no surprise there.
But what our vows have to say about other activities is open to interpretation.
Well, you're more than just you. Well, I don't know. I'm not a bleeding poet.
No, you're really not.
Did I ever tell you about her? Sheila.
Yes.
Oh, that was a night to remember.
What, you've been thinking about that ginger minge? Wondering what it tastes like.
Maybe I have.
And what is it that... Open the gate!
I can't.
Sam, is that you?
Yes!
The phone gave me strict orders to not open the gate.
Oh, Pip! Open the fucking gate!
Well, here we go.
Oh, 2 for wildlings.
Oh boy. Oh dear.
The greatest fire the North's ever seen, as Mance Rayder said.
Yep.
And then you get to go on hating me, and I get to go on wishing you wildling whore had finished the job.
When you're nothing at all, there's no more reason to be afraid.
But you're afraid now.
Yes, well... I'm not nothing anymore.
Oh, he's so good.
Hmm.
The actor John Bradley is just so good at playing this character.
Yep. He's really good.
Let's kill some crows!
Yeah. Let's kill some fucking crows. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's right. We got a giant riding a mammoth.
That's a big lad there.
I'm just not knock! Everyone else hold!
Oh god.
I said knock
Well
the
done.
hold!
No.
Flaming arrows, that'd be quite the death.
Mm.
Go on, down there. Brother Saint, you have the wall. What? What are you...
Yeah, and he killed 10 of us. Woo!
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, that's brutal. Very similar to...
Blackwater, yes.
Yeah, very similar. Come on, Pip. Come on, Pip.
With me now! Now, with me!
It's time for violence.
Mm.
Oh.
Oh, God. Oh! God, this is very one-sided. I even knew it would be.
4 inches of cold rolled steel. Those are giants riding mammoths down there! Do you think your cold rolled steel's gonna Need it below? Yes. Yes.
Hello, mate. God, he's so fucking awful. Fucking coward.
Because I've made that climb!
I think they're in a bigger hurry than you were.
Oh, that angle
Oh,
would
God.
make me sick.
Oh, Jesus, that is... And
Should we
those
get-
are not stable.
Being
Those
held
are
by a
not
person.
stable. Yeah, not, you know, in modern times, you know, with the harnesses and that, those are not stable.
Being held by a man on slippery ice in the wind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Oh,
he
that's-
can't reach, but, the big guy... Oh, my God, the size of that arrow! Holy shit!
Fucking massive.
Oh, Jesus!
All the way down. All the way down to the other side.
God. Oh my God! Oh, bloody hell! Jesus. She's certainly becoming very bloodthirsty. Oh, Jesus! Oh! Fair play, mate.
Oh no, no, not the butcher's knife.
Oh, God. Oh! Ah, just, you know, just a cut of, you know, of a beheading. Oh, bloody hell. Well, that's awkward.
Yeah.
Hey, good shot.
I got one. Right through the heart, he's dead.
Is it over?
No.
Well then.
No! No! No!
You're all right.
No! Alright, Egret deserves to die. I don't care. Egret's dead to me. Fuck, that sucks.
You utter fanboy.
I liked Pip. Pip was cool.
Yeah.
Fuck! They gave him about 5 minutes.
Yep, they really should have sealed that tunnel.
Oh, but there's no such thing as giants.
You know what I like? These giants are actually smart.
No, giants are always dumb in everything. Oh, he's still kicking. Here we go. The showdown we're looking for.
Oh yes.
This might... Yeah, this might be his undoing though. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Oh wow. Got lucky there. Oh, is Sam gonna recognize her? Because he just learned about the red hair. Is Sam gonna see Eirich and hesitate? That's gonna be interesting if he does. Go on, Sam. Go on, Sam. Yeah! Woo-hoo-hoo! Get in. Go on, Sam. He's now killed 2 people now.
Yep.
Well, 1 wildling and 1 cannibal. Oh boy. Alright, my thing isn't gonna happen then. Come on, mate. Come on, Ollie.
Find the weapon, Ollie! Fight them!
Flaming barrels. Oh! That's funny. No, come back! Hey, got it. Oh, now he's going to be very angry.
Oh no,
Mate. Mate, what? Why would you hit it with the pointy end? Oh, there he goes. Why would you poke it with the pointy end?
Oh dear.
Oh, God. There we go. Time for the main event.
Light the fuckers up! No!
Oh boy. Oh boy. This is gonna be a massacre. Oh God. No, don't you fucking run.
Wear no crowns, win no glory. I shall live and die by my post. I am the sword in the darkness. I am the watcher on the walls. I am the shield that guards the realms of men. I place my life and honor and all the knights to come.
A valley end. Oh, and John. Oh boy. Oh boy. Mm-hmm. Come on, Eirich, show your face.
There she is.
Yep, there we go.
Not too far.
No. Oh, God. This is a cool shot. The amount of work for this shot to all function so properly. Bloody hell. That was great. That was a great shot.
We need you, boy.
Go on, Ghost. Oh, arrow down. Oh, here we go, another mini boss.
Yep.
Go on, John. Oh, no arrows. Oh shit. Oh shit. Fucking hell, it's big. Oh god. Oh! Oh! Jesus, that. Oh! Eirich's gonna. Oh! Oh, man, Eirich's gonna. Oh! Never mind then. I thought Eirich would get the kill. Never mind. Yeah, but you better run, John. You better run. No. Oh god. 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 Yeah, this is it. Yeah. She's gonna do it. Don't smile. Don't smile. Oh! Oh no! No! Sam! Sam! No! Oh no! Oh my god! No!
You remember that cave? I should have stayed in that cave.
No, I did not expect that. Fucking Sam Mortali is the reason he got stared. Bloody hell. Oh shit.
Look at this.
Oh my god.
Look at this fucking sight.
Oh. Oh my god. At least the hand's there. Oh, they're retreating.
They've had enough for one night. Still outnumber us 1,000 to 1.
Oh wow. They actually won.
Woman, let it end. This is how a man ends. I should have thrown you from the top of the wall, boy! Aye. You should have. Whoa, it's me! It's me!
Oh no! Wait, did he... What happened? What happened? What's happened? Oh, he just hid. Oh. That's not going to go well for him. Oh.
So, Callum, the Watchers on the Wall, your initial thoughts?
Well, that was quite the battle. Quite one-sided for a very, very, very long time. And very similarities. Very much a lot of similarities to Blackwater. But overall, I would say I am pretty satisfied with that episode and the battle overall.
Mm-hmm.
I think direction-wise, it was pretty excellent, and yeah, I think a lot of some really good performances in a lot of actors and actresses. They did a lot of fantastic jobs. And
Yes.
yeah, I would say overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the execution.
Yes, it was very minimalist in terms of characters. There's not that many. They kept it quite scarce and focused on them mainly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Watchers on the Wall is... I mean, it's an interesting episode because it's not really... Like it's hard to explain because it's like, you go into this with the whole thing of, well, it's 100,000 versus... What? How many did they say? Like 105 at Castle Black?
103.
103 or something. And you sort of wonder, well, how is it all going to work? And what they basically did was they used the setting to their advantage of that. What I think this episode did is establish that how powerful it is to have... It's funny because with... it's memeable because of Revenge of the Sith with the whole high ground thing. But it shows the power of having the height advantage with the wall in front of you. Being able to withstand an attack from a force of people, a force of wildlings. But yeah, it's a very unique battle in the sense of it's very one-sided in terms of numbers, but it's also very one-sided in terms of advantage of where you are. You know, what kind of environment you have to your advantage to defend yourself. But I think the real kick of this episode, because what was happening by the wall was all the stuff that Mance Rayder was basically planning to do with his first attack in the night. And they withdrew to, you know, until another night. Basically, their strategy is keep charging until they basically are able to climb the wall and not be, well, I guess, scythed to death was the final solution that Tillett was using. But I think the real the real twist to this episode is the other side, the rear end attack from the small faction of wildlings with, mainly Eirich, Tormund, and Styr, and all of their group. It was their attack on the rear end that actually was the most interesting dynamic character-wise, for the most part.
Well, it was the most the fight ever felt where it was mostly one-sided the other way. With everyone, all the wildlings on the other side of the wall, it was pretty... And initially, obviously, they killed a lot of people. It was a lot of very even at times, but in the end, it was pretty easy for them to eventually get them to retreat. But with the actual attack in the castle itself, that one was quite intense for both sides.
Mm-hmm. Because that was actual man-to-man combat.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really strong episode specifically for a couple of core characters. I think the main ones I would credit would be Jon Snow and Samwell Tarly. They get most of the point of view in this, and it's all centered around them. It's all characters centered around them, really, and their story and their sort of storylines. But yeah, it was really nice to see a sort of big payoff to this whole Castle Black storyline that we've had throughout the show, to finally get for it to finally have the central focus after all this sort of it being a side plot for all this time. It got a big central focus here for an entire episode.
Dude.
I don't think this episode is on par with Blackwater because I don't think the character dynamics
No,
are
I
on
would
the
say
same level.
I think Blackwater does a better job balancing the characters and the actual battle itself. I think this was very heavily battle with moments of really good character stuff.
Yeah.
I would say, on initial reaction, I would probably just say Blackwater is the better episode in comparison.
Yeah,
I still
agree.
think this is pretty good.
I think it's like you said. With Blackwater, you got way more character dynamics that have been developed, way more on both sides, especially on the King's Landing side. But even on the Dragonstone side of things, there's still a lot of character dynamics there too. But I think also one noticeable difference is Blackwater is written by George R. R. Martin, whereas this is written by Dave and Dan.
Yes,
and Blackwater is it sticks so true to A Clash of Kings, apart from some direction it just changes, but for a lot of the characterization, it's so true to A Clash of Kings, and part of that is down to the fact that it is adapted by the man who wrote it originally, and it has so much going on with that. When it comes to The Watchers on the Wall, I think it still does the characters well, but I think it's not as widespread. I think the characters that it does the best is a much smaller.
With the North, there's a lot less main characters in comparison to King's Landing and the Stannis Baratheon army at the time. Yeah, this really the only main characters in this episode were Eirich, Jon, and Sam. Really. If you really were to break it down in terms of characters that actually had a lot of development and motivation and just even just screen time, they were really the main focus in terms of what was going on and what we were shown. We obviously got a lot of side characters because the North storyline has a lot of like really good side characters who got a lot of moments in this episode, with a couple, like with Pip, especially, he had the moment at the start where he was like so afraid, and that talk he had with Sam was really good, which then ended up him eventually killing someone, but then himself getting killed by Eirich. So
and then of course
and then that being paid off later with Sam being indirectly involved in Eirich's death.
Yes.
It all interlinks quite well. So that's the strength of this episode. But the side characters, I would say, while they have a lot of really good moments, they are still side characters who don't have the same level of development with King's Landing.
Because especially with the kid Ollie, all he saw from Eirich was part of that faction that killed his family. So
and she was hesitant, and she was an easy target at that time.
Yeah, because of her facing John. And Ollie had no idea that John was in love with Ygritte. He was never told about that. So in his mind, all he was doing was he was killing a wildling to help out John, and that's why he nodded.
Yeah, if he even saw John, even if he just saw Ygritte and just saw, oh, that's a wildling, she's very still, I could probably kill her.
Shot her and then saw John and nodded and said, you know, proud to have done that for you, I guess.
Yeah, and then how confusing must have been for him to see John then, like curdling her, you know, like having her in his arms. And that must have been really strange to see, but I imagine we won't get anything on that. But yeah, I'm surprised they didn't have well, they haven't shown us what they've done with like all the bodies of like wildlings, unless they've just burned them.
Well, given that he said to burn even the Night's Watch members, you'd imagine they'll probably burn the wildling bodies too.
I was surprised not to see like him over Egret's body as it burns. Maybe I would have thought they would have done something like that. I know they obviously had the moment at the end after she dies. But yeah, I guess you can infer that happened, but yeah.
Yes. We also had, so you mentioned the whole little Pip storyline with his hands shaking, then got some of the crossbow, and then ended up Ygritte put an arrow through his neck. Sam witnessed him dying in his arms. Sam ended up killing a Them with a crossbow. So,
yeah, that was cool.
We also had another death was Gren, who went down to the tunnel because obviously it wasn't sealed, encouraged his men to stand against the giant, you know, in the name of the Night's Watch. And they ended up stopping the giant in the end, the 6 of them, all probably plunged their swords into them as the giant barged through the door.
Which then killed them, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a all-round fatality.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I think that was a really good way to end a pretty decent side character. And just, you know, I remember in the first couple episodes, they obviously all tried to kill John because he was showing them up during their initial training. And then to see that then come where they've all now respect John so much as a leader, as an unofficial leader, is really cool to see.
2 out of 3, because Rast was also there, but he died at Crestus Keep.
But he ended up commanding the wall. You know, nice little... He was pretty much in charge of the attack.
No. You're thinking of Edison Tillett. The third person that was in the scene that you're talking about was the one that died at Crestus Keep when Ghost killed him. The one that poured water in front of his prison.
He was, yes, that is. Oh yeah, I mixed their names up.
Yeah, Edison Tillett didn't appear until season 2.
Yeah, he did. He did turn up in season 2.
It was that scene where Cersei was talking about how these brave men of the Night's Watch are doing their honourable jobs, and it cut to Edison Tillett making like fart jokes or something like that. Fucking hell, lad. Something like that. Yeah. So yeah, you're right though. Tillett did end up commanding the wall at the end after Thorne went down, then John went down, and Slint as well. And he ended up bringing out the scythe with a scythe which sliced all the bodies climbing. Absolutely brutal. I think there was some quite good brutality deaths in this. I think
there were a lot.
One of my favorite ones was when the giant shot the big arrow to the guy who went all the way onto the other side of the wall. That was insane.
That was crazy.
And then there was obviously
crazy.
One of the biggest ones was when Jon Snow had his little mini boss battle with Styr and then put a fucking sledgehammer into his head.
That's great.
After having his face bashed on an anvil as well.
Oh, I honestly thought what I thought was going to happen, I was sort of muttering it during the fight. I thought because of what they set up with Ygritte saying, if anybody tries to kill Snow, I'll kill them. So I thought was going to happen after... I thought Jon was done, pretty much, because he got his head bashed into the anvil. I thought Ygritte was going to kill him, and then we get what we got, pretty much, after. That's what I thought was going to happen. But Jon Snow just spat in his face and just absolutely wrecked the temple of his head. Just fucking smashed it in.
Yeah, the sledgehammer went, like, into his skull and stuck in there. That's fucking that's a really bad way to die.
Yeah. I mean, it's instant, and
Yeah.
it's just quite brutal.
Of course, we had Tormund Giantsbane as well, who fought to the very end, had arrows in his body, was wanting to continue fighting until he was put in chains. I love that line where he said, well, at the start of the episode, he was trying to brag about how he fucked a bear, even though he probably didn't. And then at the end, he said, I should have thrown you off that wall, Bonnie. And John's like, you should have.
Yeah, that was good.
And then, of course,
now he's prisoner now. So
yes, indeed.
That's gonna be interesting what he does for next season.
Of course, we also had Janos Slint, the coward, who was
god, what a coward!
needed down below and ended up hiding with Gilly. What consequences is that going to have for him?
I have very small hope that he will be around much longer after deserting the fight.
Yeah, well, what happens when all these other brave men who fought, to protect each other, protect the lives of the realm from the wildlings, find out what Janos Slint did?
Yeah, I don't imagine next season's gonna go too well for him when everyone finds out that he cowered.
And of course, I quite liked the role of Ollie though, being the one to operate the lift as well. It kind of made sense for him.
It's a simple job,
Yeah. But man, the fact that Ollie killed Ygritte is just—it's such a great misunderstanding, if you know what I mean. Like a.
Well, it comes from the fact that after Ygritte killed Pip, Sam indirectly has someone kill Ygritte without him really knowing. I find that really, really interesting.
And Ollie, for him, it's vindication because she was part of that attack on his family.
Oh yeah, so
that's all he knows.
He got revenge. Really, he got some justice.
But it came at the cost of Jon Snow losing the woman he loves.
Yeah.
Of course, we had Alyssa Thorne as well, who I really liked.
Gave it a good go.
I really liked how near the start of the episode, Alyssa Thorne admitted that he was wrong to Jon Snow. He said, "You're right. We should have sealed this armor."
He at least implied that.
Yeah, he said, "You're right. We should have sealed the tunnel."
Well, yeah, of course, it took the lives of 6 men.
Yeah, it could have been
needlessly.
It could have been worse had they had more people come through. But yeah, he was the way he said, you were right, and then he followed that up on, we need to survive this, and you're gonna go on hating me, and I'm gonna go on hoping that wildling bitch finished the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he gave it a good go.
Yeah, he got injured and pulled from the battle.
Yeah. A bit lucky there. A bit lucky with that fall, but he got out.
Yeah, he landed on hay, which
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid thing to fall on if you're going to fall on anything. We had a little scene at near the start of the episode with Maester Aemon and Sam. I really liked Maester Aemon's little scene there in the library.
Yeah.
Talking about how the true death of duty is love. Talking about that's why Samuel is not up there and he's down here.
Yeah.
That was a really nice scene. He talked about
I thought that was good.
When I was Aemon Targaryen.
That was a really good scene.
When I was Aemon Targaryen and I was going to be king, I had many women try and romanticize with me. Many of them very forward. One succeeded. That sort of thing of he's like, I don't love her. You do? I heard it in your voice.
I heard it in your voice. Well, Sally?
Yeah. I also like the detail of when he's remembering back to that woman he loved, he can see her better than he can see Sam, because obviously his vision's failed, but he remembers her in his mind.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I like that. I kind of like just thinking about that. It's quite those types of bits of dialogue. I really like how they do those kind of things in the media. So
absolutely,
I really enjoyed that.
Yep. Of course, we had a little thing with Gilly as well. She sort of walked on the pathway and saw the little wildling camp, and
Yeah.
that were, you know, the Egret Tormund steer camp, and then made her way through the gate. Oh, that bit where Sam's like, Pip, open the fucking gate. It's like, I never heard you curse before. Yeah, well, you better get used to it.
Oh, unfortunately, you won't be able to hear more.
Yeah, that's a shame. Of
Yeah.
course, it was quite a big thing, a big episode for her and Samwell Tarly, given that, you know, they reunited and Sam was just happy to see her alive and the baby,
Yeah.
saying, you know, where you go, I go, but then also had to tell her who he is, why he's a man of the Night's Watch, what his duty is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I promise I will come back. This was quite a heroic episode for Samwell Tarly in a lot of ways. Sort of, you know, he finally he started out as being very, you know, feeling like he was pathetic and worthless and cowardly and not useful in season 1. He's gone on to kill a White Walker just out of pure, like, I love that. Oh, one of my favorite bits of dialogue in this episode, though, was when he said to Pip, he said, the reason why I was able to kill that wildling is because I was no longer Samwell Tarly, I was no longer a brother of the Night's Watch, and I was no longer the son of Randall Tarly, I was nothing. And he said, why are you afraid now? It's because I'm no longer nothing.
Yeah, that was nice. That was a nice moment for Sam.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was because Maester Aemon made him realise that he loves Gilly and he wants to help father her child. Very clearly, he wants to take that responsibility, which made him brave in battle, and it shows his character development in a lot of ways. Yeah, I thought Samwell Tarly had a belter of an episode. He's probably one of my favourite things about it.
I agree. I think he played a really good role, and I think, you know, he did a very, very good job with the performance.
Yes.
Very good one.
Of course, as you mentioned, Egret. This was her final appearance. She had an awesome battle. She had some great, you know, I love the sort of point of view shots of her archery as well. Like the how they were sort of tilting the camera and from her point of view, it was almost like a first person shooter.
Well, you can
in a
hear
way.
a lot of her breathing in those moments as well. She was like
Yeah.
very heavily breathing. She was very much.
It was very
rageful.
it was very reminiscent of video game angles when it would tilt the camera to follow her movement
Yeah.
of where she was shooting. She had some fantastic action scenes. She obviously killed Pip, and then she got killed by Ollie, and she had that emotional goodbye with John, which I thought was really well acted. I thought Carrington pulled off the anguish and the sort of. It kind of reminded me a bit of you know, it's not exactly the same, but you know, in Last of the Time Lords, when the Doctor is over the Master's body and his face he's kind of confused as to like how to express his face, and he sort of gets all like he gets multiple expressions on his face, and it's it's
well, because that situation is so complicated for him.
Yeah.
In the fact that with the Master being a former friend and it being the last Time Lord again. You know, there's a lot of aspects to the emotion.
It's like it's heavy emotion and sadness, but it's also confusion as well in some ways. And I think John expressed that too, of like the sort of the shock.
I would say so. Yeah,
the shock and the confusion, and then the sort of the doubt and the you know, we should go back to that cave. And then of course when he realizes that she's dead, he's obviously very emotional about it.
Consoling. Yeah.
And I think this is actually a detail in the last scene that some people miss, is that it's not just a strategic reason why he's going to, you know, confront Mance Rayder now. It's also because he's lost Egret as well, and he feels like he's, you know, he feels so empty inside, and it's why he feels like he's not afraid.
Well, he feels very responsible.
He's not afraid to die.
Responsible for her.
You know. So yeah, I mean, obviously John's kind of the star and the centerpiece of the Wall storyline, and I thought he was fantastic here.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very satisfying. That John's journey has just been very consistently satisfying. Like, because he's such a, like, he's a very conflicted person, but he always tries to do the right thing and always tries to help, the people around him as much as he can. I find him very admirable in a lot of ways. I think I can understand why the North story becomes such a beloved story and why John is so beloved.
Yeah, because they've done a big slow build up with him since the first episode.
Yeah.
Very
much.
He's come a long way since, being hated by Catelyn Stark and being the bastard.
Yeah. He feels like he's really like come of age in these 4 seasons in a lot of ways. He's really like, and him becoming that leader, because eventually you'd imagine he is going to be the leader of the Wall or the North, wherever the road takes him. He will eventually be this leader that will motivate men into battle and
He's been
be a really good leader.
I mean, as Samuel Tarly put it, Geo Mormont was grooming him for command from the start.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess in a lot of ways he has learned that, but also on his own too. And he displayed it a lot here with his leadership of a lot of the men on the Wall.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really like John and his sort of slow development, because in comparison to other characters where even within season 1, like people like Ned Stark, Robert Baratheon, Cersei, Tyrion, their sort of characters all got fully developed within that season and obviously have continued to do so in, especially King's Landing. But with John, it's been such a great slow build over season to season to season to season.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a very lovely, slow, gradual build for him as a person and his journey. That it's one of those, like, you appreciate the journey a little bit more with how well built and patient it's been. And yeah, John's story, I would say, is that for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a shame that Daenerys hasn't got that same level of love and care, because she's supposed to be the opposing side of the I guess the B plots of Game of Thrones, and sort of rising and developing, in a similar way to Jon Snow, but on the other side of the world for different reasons.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, well. Oh well.
But it's interesting going forward now that Jon is now going to go confront Mance Rayder beyond the wall. What's going to happen, Catelyn? What is going to happen?
What will happen indeed? Yeah, I imagine that next season for him is going to be very interesting, and how he approaches the situation.
Indeed. So, the consensus is sort of, from some people, is that it lacks emotional punch of previous episodes this season, but it succeeds as an action-packed hour with cinema-worthy visuals. It's an intense, rousing hour of heroism, heartbreak that set a new bar for what this show and TV can do. As the most expensive episode of the series, the battle at Castle Black feels like the equivalent to Battle at Helm's Deep. There was one reviewer who was more negative about the episode, saying aside from the major moment with Jon and Ygritte, it was hard to feel emotionally invested in anything that happened. As visually exciting as it was to watch everything unfold, the ending was surprisingly unfulfilling. What's your take on that?
Unfulfilling is not a word I would use for this episode. I was quite satisfied with the execution of a lot of, like, the main character stuff.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
It depends on your...
Really.
Like, it's... Being not as good as Blackwater is quite a harsh standard.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it is, mainly because I think the character side of it is stronger than this episode. But I think in terms of what they actually wanted to do and executed, I think they did a good job. I think they did a really good job in the pacing, the structure, and delivering all these great character moments.
Yeah,
For the main characters and for a lot of the side characters too. I think it did a really good job. So
definitely.
no, I'm quite satisfied at how they did this.
Yes. So
How it developed everyone.
Dave and Dan did a solid job. You know what's interesting is that Pip and Gren didn't actually die in the books. It was actually other characters that filled those exact roles that we saw. But the reason why they chose Pip and Gren to do those roles with the deaths in this episode is because they wanted to use characters that the audience were invested in, as opposed to ones that they weren't.
Yeah.
Because obviously,
and that's the thing. Yeah.
the novels have a lot more time to develop more characters, right? And so the ones that were supposed to be in those spots hadn't really gotten anything in the TV shows. They instead used Pip and Gran in those spots to sort of add a gut punch to those deaths because they have been featured.
But they're not like to kill characters that we care about, that are side characters, in ways that make sense. That's totally fine, and they did it very well. There are times though that can be very, if you just want to kill them, just we get a reaction out of them, but you just arbitrarily get there in any way you can just because you want it. This is how you do something you want, and it actually makes sense within the narrative. They're in a battle; they could die at any point. Pip was just in a, he just got a bad luck, got shot in the neck because someone was on level ground with him.
Yeah.
The other guy, he got smashed by a giant trying to defend the gate.
Absolutely, bravely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, I would say they gave them good endings, I would say.
Yes. And I think this is one of the last times, if not the last time, that Dave and Dan hit the nail on the head all the way through. That's all I'll say on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, considering now we're pretty much near, the second half in terms of seasons, where the quality is going to most likely go down.
Mockingbird was the halfway point for the whole show. Unless you count duration time, how there's some longer episodes in later seasons. But even saying that, we are over halfway through the show now. And I'll say no more. But something that I will praise, I praised this about Blackwater at the time. What this episode got absolutely right was the direction by Neil Marshall. It was so good. The visuals were stunning for the whole thing. All the action sequences, the whole thing of the way that the wall was presented, the way that the Mance Raider's army was presented with the giants and the mammoths with that sort of the effects they used. All of the POV shots from the rear end with Eirich and, the ghost POV, all of the choreography, the character dialogue scenes as well were really well shot, and the panning. There was some of those shots that were really long shots that panned around Castle Black and showed you all these different incidents happening at the same time.
Yeah.
That was very satisfying. So I thought the direction was top tier in this one. It looked amazing.
I thought it was pretty darn excellent.
It was a cinematic spectacle on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So well done. I don't think he comes back though. I believe he only did those 2 episodes. So.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh well. Yeah. But he directed what I consider to be probably the 2 best battles in the show. From memory, I think. Could be wrong with that, but I think Blackwater is definitely the best battle in Game of Thrones, 100%. Especially from a character point of view. I think this is also one of the other best ones, but I think once we get later on, I'll be able to remind, because it's been a while since I've seen the second half of the show, especially seasons 5 to 7. It's been quite a few years, so I need to refresh my memory on what those battles were like in terms of visuals. But in terms of storytelling wise, when it comes to blending, having a great direction visually and also having a great story told within that, he basically directed the best of the Game of Thrones battle episodes.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and I really liked the sort of the way he shot sort of scenes where people would have surprise deaths. So, like, you know, when Pip got shot in the neck, it was the way.
Oh, it was a shock. It was
the way,
yeah.
The way the arrow hits him, and then it pans to Eirich, or like when Eirich gets shot and it pans to Ollie, cuts to Ollie, like that stuff, and then like the slow motion shot of John over Eirich's body as well. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the different sort of pannings around, yeah. But, overall, the direction was just great from start to finish. Very, very well delivered. Probably couldn't really ask for more, to be honest.
Not really, no.
It didn't have any of those sort of awkward edits and continuity errors that the trial by combat had in the last episode either, which was nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't really notice anything in terms of poor continuity. I think it was very expertly done editing-wise, from what I saw on first watch.
And also, given this was a night battle, you can kind of hide some of the
exactly. That
some
has
of the
that
rough
benefit
edges
too.
Yeah. Although, having said that, the Oberon's exploding head effect was actually really well done, despite the fact that it was broad daylight.
Yes, it was. It was actually very well done.
Yes. And then, of course, we had the brilliant Raymond Javari's music, who just knows how to do battle themes. He's just so damn good at it. The intense build-ups and all that. And we have 3 tracks for this episode. We tend to have more music when it comes to the battle stuff. I think with Blackwater we had like 4 or something. We have 3 this time. Because he tends to compose more stuff for the battle episodes.
Alright.
The first track is called Watchers on the Wall. He's just so good at battle music.
Oh yeah, that was great. Really good.
It's just so fitting of the setting, of the scenes, of the story, everything. All of it. It's... What more could you want? What more could you want?
Can't ask for more, really.
No.
With that kind of track.
So distinctly Game of Thrones as well. It's so instantly recognizable.
Oh yes.
Raymond Javari is a master when it comes to choosing what kind of drums to use for every song he does, and whether to use them or not. Makes so much difference when you're able to pick the right drumming style, because it can drastically change a song's tone. And he's just so good at it, especially in keeping with having his songs stay consistent with the medieval style as well, having instruments really only fitting of that time period. I think that's one of the most impressive things about him.
Fucking really good, excellent job with
Absolutely.
battle music.
Absolutely. So the second track is called The Biggest Fire the North Has Ever Seen. Kind of just makes you think the kind of person Mance Rayder is to have a fire lit to make sure that the people at the wall know that they're coming. You know? It's like, he's not just gonna go and attack them while they're sleeping in the night. He wants them to know he's coming.
Yeah, he just does such a good job with these tracks. This same sort of vibe.
Yeah, the build up. It's that scene where it builds up.
He knows how to build up and deliver a really good scale with the tracks that he does for these kind of episodes.
It's that whole scene of when John is walking from the elevator up to the top of the wall and then sees the fire, and it pans and we see the fire. And it has that big escalating sound to it. And sort of triggers a call to action for Jon Snow. It's such great how the music tells the story for you. Brilliant.
Yeah. It aids the story very well.
Absolutely.
The best tracks normally do.
Yep. Right, the third track.
Yep.
The third track is called Let's Kill Some Crows. You know what I really liked about that? I think I noticed it in the last track as well, but at the start and sort of in the background of it, I like how when they have music that represents the wildlings, they have this sort of traditional wind instrument. It's not quite a didgeridoo, but it's got this sort of growling wind sound to it, and it's used to sort of represent the wildling, tone, which I thought is quite unique for them. And then, of course, you got all the bombast of the battle music, and there's even bits of the Game of Thrones theme in there towards the end as well.
Yeah, I just remember that shot of the one shot going all across like the ground.
Yeah.
When you see every inch of like the battle by the gate. Yeah, with that track playing in the background, that was bloody good. bloody good stuff that was.
Yep. Yeah, so obviously the title of the episode is a reference to the oath sworn by the Night's Watch. You know, I am the sword in the darkness, I am the watcher on the walls, I am the shield that guards the realms of men. Which is what Gran and the other men said before the giant killed them. Ooh, from start to finish, apparently the director had 9 weeks to complete this episode. With 4 weeks devoted solely to pre-production, compared to the 7 days on Blackwater. Marshall said, I definitely needed it this time. The additional weeks were devoted to planning out the battle, conceptualizing the CGI mammoths, and choreographing the 360-degree crane shot of the Castle Black during the final battle.
Yeah. Yeah, no surprise there. That would have taken a lot to get organised properly.
Yeah. There was a 3-week shoot for the episode, in which 2 weeks were for the battle scenes. Unsurprisingly, the actual battle takes up 31 minutes of the 55-minute episode. You know, it was actually really impressive how well they managed to get the mammoths across. I thought the mammoths were amazing.
I thought they looked really good.
Given that they were 100% CGI, I thought they looked great.
Oh yeah, they looked very convincing.
The 360-degree shot of the battle and castle took 2 hours to block and position all the actors and rehearse. It took 7 takes to get it done perfectly. Marshall decided to do the 360-degree shot because Castle Black is a fully realized set, which made it perfectly suited for such a shot. And he said, as soon as I saw the set for the first time, I knew I wanted to pull off a 360 shot because the set and act were just screaming for it. So I devised a shot that would visually link all the major characters and clearly establish where they were at this particular point in the battle. And I think geography is vitally important in an action sequence. It's all too easy to lose a sense of where characters are in the blaze of quick cuts and physical action. And having a shot like this that binds all the characters and their actions together really helps the audience understand what's happening, so they remain involved in the scene. We blocked the shot and rehearsed for about an hour or two and got it in 7 takes. Once we pulled off the 360 shot, the entire group gave themselves and each other a big round of applause, and it was well deserved. It's such a great cast and crew regardless, but for that particular shot it was like everyone from the stuntmen to the extras to the crane operators to the assistant directors understood what we were trying to achieve and were absolutely at the top of their game that evening. And that nobody got hit by the camera, which was sweeping past their heads at incredible speed, was a miracle itself. But everyone had their timing and moves down to perfection, and that's why it only took 7 takes, and it was a great moment. It's probably the highlight of the episode in terms of direction. It was such an amazing shot that they pulled off.
Yeah, really good. It was breathtaking. One shot.
Apparently the scythe was also 100% CGI as well. Which is pretty insane.
That's crazy.
Beautifully realised. Of course, I forgot to mention, as Eirich died, she said that line she always says, "You know nothing, Jon Snow."
Yeah. Apt end for a lot of characters this episode.
Apparently at Comic-Con, Rose Leslie said that her death scene as Eirich was the last scene she filmed for the TV series. That she was thankful for this because the scene was so emotionally draining that it would have been difficult to subsequently come back and film scenes from earlier episodes in the season. It's a bit like how Richard Madden's last scene as Rob was the Red Wedding as well, and afterwards he got on a plane and he had, was still covered in fake blood.
Yeah.
And was just crying on the whole way plane home.
More times than not, as an actor, you probably want the endings of your characters to be the last scene you film, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's quite amazing when you hear what all some of these actors go through and how much real life impact it has on them doing all these roles. Like essentially, they're pretending to be people they're not, and this is like a made up sort of fantasy. But
it can be very emotionally draining.
Yeah, but when you fully get yourself into your role as if you are that person, it can be very draining on your life. I mean, look what happened to Heath Ledger, right? As the Joker. How draining that was on his life. Arguably too draining. So this is an interesting little detail in terms of acting, is that Hannah Murray, who plays Gilly, the reason why she was not passionate with Samwell when they kissed was because, in her mind, Craster would have never kissed Gilly or any of his wives and daughters, right? Because he was a purely lustful man. And she would have been confused by the romantic gesture that she's never seen or had before in her whole life.
Yeah.
Sort of a new thing to her.
Definitely.
something that only Sam really understands. And I think that's a good little detail from her to understand that about her character as well. You know, to understand that that's what her perception would be. Oh yes, there's a detail in here. I love this detail. So, you know how when Jon Snow gained the edge on Styr by spitting blood on his face after being smashed on the anvil, and then grabbed the hammer onto Styr's skull. So this is a lovely bit of continuity. He learned that trick because Carl Tanner used the same thing against Jon at Crassus Keep, nearly killing him by spitting blood on his face.
He did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
So,
good.
Carl Tanner taught him that trick because he nearly killed Jon as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he would have killed him pretty much if not for help.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably good. Yeah. That learning that is pretty much saved his life twice.
Absolutely.
In a way. Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool. That is cool.
The blooper reel revealed that during the fight between Styr and Jon Snow, in one take when Styr misses Jon and embeds an axe into a wooden weapons rack, which was rigged to break, the axe got stuck on the wood anyway, and the actor struggles to get it a few moments to get it off. And there's another blooper that revealed Owen Teal, who plays Alistair Thorne, was fighting in the courtyard. He struck his prop sword against the stuntman's shield so hard that the blade of the prop sword snapped off completely at the hilt. Those things are flimsy. Apparently, remember at the start of the episode when they had the Then's war owl land on the top of the walls, that they knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the owl was so difficult to manage, they almost went with a CGI owl because it was taking so long to get it to actually do the shot properly. But then, nearly at the point of them giving up, it finally got the mark correct. So that's good.
Nice.
A CGI owl would have looked worse, for sure.
Yeah, wouldn't have looked as good.
Because feathers are very expensive. Let's just say that. Oh, you know how they had the flaming oil barrels that they dropped and they exploded fire? So apparently stunt actors were actually set on fire for that.
Oh my God.
But they had heavy layers of clothing and their exposed skin was covered in gel. But they were really on fire for a few seconds, and then the moment the director called cut, crew members scrambled to put out the flames with fire extinguishers before they could get seriously hurt. Even the flaming wildling who gets caught up in the ropes and gets dragged along the ground by panicking mammoth was a practical effect. The stuntman was pulled along the ground by a rope attached to a truck. They made sure that the rope was positioned high on the truck to match the height where the rope would be attached to the mammoth's shoulders. So that was real. That was a real stunt, being dragged while burning. Oh my God. That is insane dedication. So, the viewership was a little bit down. It was 6.95 million. We've gone below 7 now. Because the last episode was 7.1 and the one before that was 7.2. So we've just gone down slightly. But we're still pretty high. Even if we've shaved off a few
And I imagine
100,000.
after this episode, next one will get a bump, and the fact that it's the finale, it'll most likely get a bump up.
We'll have to wait and see for that. So yeah, give your conclusion and a rating out of 10 for The Watchers on the Wall.
I was very impressed by this episode. I'm glad that the consistency of episode 9 of each season being pretty much the highlight of the season in a lot of ways. I would probably say out of the 4 now episodes that are at this point, this is probably my least favourite, but I still love it quite a lot. I would say that character-wise, in terms of main characters, pretty much the main 3, it delivered very well in these moments, and the execution was up to what I would probably say is quite satisfying. The battle itself was really well executed, the choreography was excellent, the direction was excellent, the music, aiding all of this, did a really good job at building up the scale of it and the momentous task all the guys had in this fight, because it was pretty one-sided for a while, but yeah, I think production-wise it's a pretty excellent episode, probably the most impressed I've been in a long time with Game of Thrones production in its entirety. Yeah, I would probably give this, because it doesn't have as much character oomph like something like Blackwater had, which I believe I gave it a 9.5 at the time. So I would probably say that this is a 9 out of 10.
Yep.
I think with the whole everything going so well for the production, I think that would probably boost it up from an 8.5 to a 9 for me. I think I was so impressed from the production side, and the story narrative side I think was up to par to what I was hoping for this battle.
Yes, the character stuff was really solid. It's not quite as phenomenal as it has been in past seasons. Past seasons have been, incredibly layered and depth and had lots of different main characters with much development and so many great dynamics and, really, really impressive payoffs and whatnot. This still had really good payoffs, but there were good payoffs mainly for minor characters. Apart from maybe I'd say the Eirich stuff was the only real major payoff we had. So yeah, I'd say it was a solid episode for character-wise, really, high stakes for a lot of them and escalated well and, really some really strong dialogue. But where this episode really shines is in its direction, its production. This is a near masterpiece in terms of being able to achieve a really unique battle that takes place over a really unique setting, coming from both sides, one from the side of the wall climbing up with, mammoths and giants and, a big scythe and exploding barrels and flaming arrows and whatnot. Then coming from the other side with the Eirich, Tormund and Steer faction, with the whole thing with Gilly and the baby returning, the stuff with Jane Oslint being a coward, with Alyssa Thorne and Jon Snow's dynamic coming to a unique sort of payoff in some ways, and Jon's position really firmly established as, especially after coming back from Craster's Keep, of him taking a leadership role from the Night's Watch as Thorne gets pulled aside for his injuries. And with the great action scenes, with the great camera shots, and especially some really good character payoff for Samuel Tarly as well. I thought this episode was fantastic. Like you, it is my least favorite so far of the episode 9s. I gave Baelor, Blackwater, and the Reigns of Castamere all 10s because they were masterpieces. But this is still, I'd say, on that level production-wise, but in terms of characterization, it's still really good, but it's not on the level of, Ice and Fire adaptation Game of Thrones. This is up to a good, really good standard, but it's not, worthy of that top tier level. So I'm also going to give this a 9 out of 10. And it's probably the first season where episode 9, it's still one of the best, but it's not a runaway winner like it was with the other 3 seasons for me. Because I think Baelor, Blackwater, and the Raids of Castamere were undisputedly best episodes of those seasons.
Yeah, agreed.
So, with this one, it's competing with stuff like, The Lion and the Rose, The Laws of Gods and Men, and The Mountain and the Viper. Possibly still the best, but we'll have to wait for the rankings for that one. That might actually be one of the first times it's a little bit less predictable in terms of what's at number 1. But it was a really, really great episode. And to be honest, I'm a little foggy on a couple of things from here out. But from what I remember, I think this is the last episode of the TV show that I could say I loved all the way through. I think. Because I'm pretty sure it doesn't get back to this level again, unfortunately. At least for me. For some people, it does. For some people, there's a...
Well, yeah, in terms of, the global reception, Game of Thrones only started going downhill in season 7, really.
Yeah.
In terms of, the public perception.
Yeah, there's there's a few episodes in seasons 5 and 6 that some people really love. We'll get to those. But from what I remember, this is the last great peak of Game of Thrones before it starts
to decline.
It declines for me, at least. It declines for what I want the show to be. But we'll get to that. But yeah, it was nice to sort of have a last hurrah, I guess you could say. And that means that next time we finish off the season, next time we have episode 10 of season 4. We're finally hitting the end of the season after 2.5 years. We started this during the first ever lockdown in 2020, which was 2.5 years ago now. It's crazy to think when we started Game of Thrones. And it's crazy how we've come back to it after all that time, and we're now finally gonna attempt to finish the show. But we're still
to get through, you know, the big second half.
the big second half, and of course, we have one more episode left of season 4, episode 10, which is called "The Children."
Not the children.
And yeah, what are your anticipations for the finale of season 4?
Well, considering that this episode did not have the red flag that you have been claiming this season eventually will have, I'm quite fearful of the final episode of this season, that there's going to be an event that occurs that I'm going to see and think, oh no, now the downfall begins. Now the downfall really begins. So, not looking forward to that. I'm considering how we left last episode with the end of the trial by combat with Martell's death, and now Tyrion's, he's now going to be sentenced to death, as well, as much as we think. So I'm imagining next episode will be King's Landing heavy. Maybe not the whole thing, because with every season there are normally setups for what the story will develop in all the other plots going forward with season 5. But I am imagining that a majority of next episode will be King's Landing centric and very Tyrion heavy, Cersei heavy, Tywin heavy, and Jaime heavy. And what the follow up with Martell's death will be, whether anything of that will get developed, probably will, but we will see. Yeah, I'm worried based on my knowledge of what comes forward with the narrative. So yeah, it's gonna be quite something to experience. Getting now to past now pretty much the halfway point, and now going on to the seasons that my faith will start to decline, I imagine, over these next couple of seasons. Slowly but surely, I'd imagine.
Well, I suppose if there's anything I could preview for you there is the general sort of mainstream, I guess you could say, the widespread Game of Thrones fandom, especially with the TV show. Within that group, the next episode, the season 4 finale, is actually, it's pretty well liked. It's often considered one of the better episodes of the show among that circle. It's a pretty well liked episode on the whole, with the general sort of zeitgeist of Game of Thrones fandom. However, of course, that is just a certain majority, and to say that from here a fork in the road is created would probably be accurate. And to sort of foreshadow my thoughts on the next episode, they are more complicated than you might anticipate. There's a lot of things to sort of there's going to be a lot to talk about. It's probably going to be a long review because there's a lot of things to address. But my thoughts on the next episode are similar to one very long Welshman that you may know very well. So I would say I side more with the Mauler man than I do with the general public on the next one. So we'll you have to wait and see what my thoughts are on that. I mean, look, here's the thing, Ro. You might at first really like it. That is possible. It is certainly a possibility that you might be really positive on it. I'm not 100% sure what your reaction will be, but I think the most interesting thing will be when we get to the review and I explain what I mean. And that's all I'm going to say. It's certainly going to be an interesting episode to review. That's the key word here. And that's... I shan't say more. So, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, not really. I'm pretty much ready to go for the excitement of the last episode.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, brace yourselves, fans. From this point on, my takes on Game of Thrones from here until the end of the show are going to be spicy.
Oh, they're being spicy.
They're going to be spicy from here till the end of the show. So be ready for that. And we will see you all next time for Game of Thrones Season 4, Episode 10, the finale, The Children. Bye-bye.
Not the children.